Hi there, I'm Lelia Lewis, and welcome to another edition of New Day, New Beginnings. Now, first of all, I'm going to share a story um, about something that probably can touch on all of us in one way or another, but it's something that we get ourselves into, and sometimes we can get ourselves out, and sometimes we can't. But today I'm going to share a story about hatred, revenge, and payback. And that is the title of today's lesson. Hatred, revenge, and payback. What does it really accomplish? And I'm going to first define those words. Hatred. Well, hostility is what it is. Prejudice against a thing, a person, ideas, hostility against someone, some people, something that happened to you. Um, Hatred is just, well, first of all, we use it loosely because we could say, oh, I hate that food, or I hate this flavor, I hate that taste, I hate that song, I hate that voice. I hate that. We use the word hate not so much literally as the hostility there is in real hatred. We just kind of throw it around for stuff we don't really like. That's all. But today I'm going to talk about the true meaning of hatred, the hostility part of hatred, and then also the revenge. What is the definition of revenge? It's an account to get even for whatever happened to you. How many times do you hear people say, I'll get them back? I'll get them back. You just want to inflict the same injury in return to the person who submitted injury to you. And the payback, what is that? That's exactly what it is. I'm going to give you back the same thing you gave me. It's a return of something they did to you. I'll fix them. How many times do you hear people say, I'll fix them? I'll get them back because of a wrongdoing that they did? It could be verbal abuse. I mean, hatred comes from many things. There are so many things that could trigger jealousy, envy, covetousness. What did we say covetousness was? It was the idea of wanting something that belongs to someone else. It's theirs, but you're jealous because you want it. You can get hatred from mistreatment, abuse, lies. How many times do people just lie about stuff because they want you to believe in them versus someone else? Or they want you to follow what they're saying. Be it right or wrong, they'll lie about something or anything to get you to believe them. But my story today is going to stay focused on actual literal hatred because this was created by mistreatment and torture. Now, like I said, this is going to be a western. I like westerns. I look at them all the time. I think a lot of times, even though some of them are old, but as I look at them now, they tell good stories and they tell factual stories. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Because today, this is all going to begin in a small town in Kansas, not far from Dodge City. But there was a bank robbery in this town. And the town had a great sheriff, and his name was Lyle. Now, he had been sheriff there for many years and he had done a great job. He had a quiet, peaceful town, and everyone loved him and his son. And him and his son had a farm, and they just worked the farm and had a good life. Now, of course, when there's a Western, you know what that means. They got to have, if that somebody robs the bank, they got to go get them. And so Lyle, the sheriff, formed a posse. And of course, they had to go after the gang that robbed the bank. So they did catch a couple of them, but not the gang leader or a couple of other guys. So they only had two that they caught and took back to their jail. But the leader's name was Ponzi. And they didn't catch him and two other guys. So you know how the story goes. Of course, they're going to come back and try to get their partners out of jail. It's a small town jail. We could just, overtake him and get the guy out, etc., etc. So that's what they did. They went back and they went to overtake the sheriff, and they did. They overtook the sheriff and they released their partners. They got them out. But Ponzi, he wasn't satisfied with that. He decided he wanted to teach the sheriff a lesson, um, to make sure that he wouldn't try to come after them again. And what he did was a horrible thing because he did this by smashing both his hands with a hammer and making him a cripple for the rest of his life. He made him a cripple, and that's when Lyle's hatred began. That's when the hostility kicked in because now Ponzi had done something very personal and very horrifying to the sheriff of the town. Now, later, the gang was finally captured and they all were sent to the territorial prison, Ponzi included. So when Lyle heard that Ponzi got 10 years, guess what? That's when his revenge plan came to mind. That's when he began thinking about his payback, how he was going to get him back. And don't forget, everything that we act on comes from our mind. First, it's a thought, then it moves into the action. And once he found that Ponzi got 10 years, that's when his plan began in his mind to get revenge and a payback. Now, at this point, he began teaching his son how to become a marksman. He began to teach him how to shoot and how to become the best there is. And he took time, hours a day. He would make him practice, practice, practice. And he did. The boy did. I mean, and as he grew older, he was getting better and better and sharper and sharper. And I mean, he still took care of the farm. He still took care of his father. He did everything he was supposed to do, and he followed his father's instruction. And he did. He became a marksman and the quickest gun the people had ever seen. He was kind of fast because I was watching him. I was like, wow, he would beat everybody to the draw. I mean, he would go to the shooting things and win everything, how they used to have the festivals and all that. But at the same time, he was a very quiet person, a very mild mannered person. Well, he just liked going, working on the farm, taking care of his dad, And he was happy. Had good crops. He was a great farmer. I mean, he left nothing to be desired. So he didn't want to do anything else. But at the same time, the town people loved him and his father, but they asked him, did he want to be sheriff? But he was like, no, that just wasn't what he wanted. He wanted just what he had, peace and quiet. He liked it like that. So for many years, that's how it went. And all those years, his father made sure he practiced every single day. And his son didn't know that all this was in preparation for him to someday kill Ponzi for what he had done to his father. So actually, the son was kind of an innocent bystander in all this practice and shooting thing. But his father would always, just tell him how great he was. And a lot of people believed, that he was quicker than any. A couple of outlaws did come through there and they did provoke him, but he never killed them. All he did was draw so fast that they never got their gun from the holster. So they knew that he could have killed them. So they left him alone. So he didn't have to kill to prove his point. All he had to do was draw. That's all he had to do. Just draw. Now, where are we at? I'm getting so caught up in my story. Okay. Now, so the last thing was he was preparing him for the fight with Ponzi because now he knew Ponzi had 10 years. And all those 10 years, all he did was teach his son, kept him on that, practice, practice. And so finally the day came when Ponzi did get released. And then the sheriff or the marshal told him, he said, well, I'm just letting you know that Ponzi got released. So he'll be coming to the stage depot. The marshal will bring him to the stage depot and then send him on to wherever he's going. Well, now that Ponzi found out this information, this automatically triggered an instant replay in his mind. Just the thought of the fact, knowing that Ponzi was getting released, it brought it all back to him, clear as a bell. And a lot of times we have those episodes. When bad things happen to us, we always relive them. Something will trigger it. And them telling him that Ponzi was getting released, that triggered an instant replay in his mind of that horrible day. And he was living it all over again. The hostility, the hatred, his hatred was boiling, and his revenge sweltered. He felt the whole thing all over again. And all he could do was imagine his son gunning down Ponzi. That was the high point of his thought. Finally, he's going to get his payback and it would be complete. At last, he would have peace because Ponzi would be dead. And that's all he lived those 10 years for. That's all he thought about. And now it's finally going to happen. Now, I've never hated anybody to that extent, though I'm sure many people have, and maybe people have good reason. But I don't know. I never hated anyone, period. So, but have you? Have you ever hated someone? Do you hate someone? Do you carry a hate for somebody right now? Do you even carry a grudge? That's just as bad. Some people have been carrying grudges for years. That's what creates feuds. Half of them don't even remember what happened because it was so many years ago. Have you ever been longing to get somebody back for something they did or said or held against you? You just haven't had the opportunity yet? Well, if you fall in any of those categories, no matter where, I want you to listen to this entire story to the very end. It'll surprise you as well as give you a wise lesson. Okay, so where did we leave all that? He found out Ponzi was getting released. So now he tells his son, I'm going into the, the, the depot because he wanted to have it out with Ponzi once and for all. And he told his son because he knew his son would not let him go by himself. He knew that. So he just said, well, I'm going into the depot and I'm going to face Ponzi. And his son, he knew his son wouldn't let him go by himself. But now the difference was once his son realized, oh, excuse me. Once his son realized he was setting him up to kill a man deliberately for revenge, excuse me, he told his father he wasn't going. He's like, no, Dad, I can't do that. I'm not going. Now, this really made his father kind of angry because he never thought he would tell him no. And his father was like, well, come fine. Don't go. I'll go by myself. I don't need you. I don't need anybody. And he told him that because he never really told his son that he himself was practicing trying to shoot. See, he never told his son all that. But at the same time, he always thought his son was going to be there, so he didn't have to. So anyway, he said, I'll go without you. I don't need you, so forth and so on. So he went, father went. And when the stagecoach pulled into the depot, the marshal stepped out, opened the door, and at the same time the stagecoach pulled up, over here, Lyle's son, he was riding up as well. So he was riding up the same time, and he got down and went over and stood with his father. And his father kind of just smiled and said, I knew you'd show up. Well, he did. So anyway, the marshal opened the door and out steps this old man dragging one leg, and he only had use of one arm, one hand. So he just spoke to him and kept on going. Then the driver jumped down off the stage, and he's still waiting to see who else is going to get out. But nobody else got out. Nobody else got out the stagecoach. Now it dawned on him. He realized that the man that spoke and walked past him was Ponzi. He realized, oh no. And he turned and called him by name, Ponzi. And Ponzi turned around and looked at him and he said, sorry, friend. Do I know you? And when he said that, Lyle was like, don't pretend with me. You know who I am. And he said his name. And the man said, well, I've been sick a long time and I don't remember many things anymore. And he turned and walked away. He said, I'm sorry. And at that time, Ponzi went to draw his gun, but he couldn't grasp it. Even with two hands, it fell to the ground. He couldn't hold on to it. He was so frustrated. He, he, he dropped the gun. And then he went to the ground to try to pick it up, and he couldn't pick it up. He couldn't even pick it up. Then he realized, that's when he realized that this man didn't have a clue as to who he was. Like he said, I've been sick a long time. I forgot a whole lot of things. And then he realized that he had wasted 10 years of his life hating a man who forgot he even existed. And he just fell on his knees and wept because he kept saying, no, no, he's got to remember. He's got to remember. He couldn't believe that he had wasted 10 years of his life hating on a man that didn't even know he existed. Because he thought his payday was going to be so wonderful with his gun, with his son gunning him down. And it didn't happen anything the way he planned or even imagined. Got a question for you. Is there someone out there that you're hating on just a little bit or even holding a grudge against? If so, I hope you've learned something from this story because, first of all, hating and holding a grudge never settles anything. And it doesn't help you move forward. And that's the whole point, to move forward, to not live in the past. You don't want to keep dragging stuff. That's where feuds come in for years and years. And that's why it's so important that we have our daily prayer and conversation with God, because we always have to pray for guidance. We always need wisdom. We always need direction. That's important for us. Now, look, let's go to James, the book of James, chapter 3. I just want to read 2 or 3 verses because it's relevant to what we're talking about today. Verse 16 says, wherever envy and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. Envy. What is envy? The actual meaning of the word envy is the resentful awareness of the advantage another person is enjoying. And you're jealous. You're envious of what they have. And it says envy and strife. And what is strife? Strife is a struggle. It's a fight. It's conflict. It's bitterness. So both of these things create nothing but confusion. Chaos, confusion, something's always going on. And every evil work. And what is hatred? Evil work. What is revenge? Evil work. What is payback? All that comes under evil works. Look at verse 17. It says, but the wisdom that is from above is pure, then it's peaceful, gentle, and easy to entreat. That means it's easy for you to request your help because all you got to do is pray and ask for it. Good fruits and mercy. And mercy is leniency. God always is lenient. He gives us chance after chance. That is being lenient. And the good fruits are the fruits of the Spirit. The fruits of the Spirit are what? Peace, love, joy, happiness, kindness. Uh-oh, no. Uh-oh, I don't know what happened. It popped away for a minute. But fruits of the Spirit are peace, joy, happiness. Forgiveness. That's where I was. And in order to get in through anything, you've got to be able to forgive. And it says, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. So you can't have peace if you're creating chaos and confusion. That's not going to happen. So in order to have peace, this is simply saying, in order to have peace, you have to make peace. Period. That's what it's all about. So forgiveness isn't always for the other person. Oh my goodness. Forgiveness isn't always for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. A lot of times it's for you because you need to forgive yourself and you need to have acceptance from them for forgiveness. But you can't forgive if you can't get forgiveness or peace if you're not willing to forgive. So Lyle learned that the hard way. He probably never even thought about prayer. He never thought to pray about his situation. Oh, sure, they had the little churches going on, but he didn't attend. He figured he didn't need all that. But we have the opportunity to every day just to ask for the help we need. We have the opportunity to ask for guidance and wisdom and strength that we need to put our lives in order the way God wants it to be. Let me just read you something out of chapter 4 right fast. Verse 8 says, draw nigh near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, you double minded people. Double minded simply just means, you're wishy washy. I call it wishy washy. It's okay one day, and then you're thinking a different way about the same thing. Didn't we just talk about that yesterday? And you're thinking something altogether different again. And verse 10 says, humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. He shall lift you up. That's all you need to do. It's not that difficult. It really isn't that hard. Don't waste time anymore dwelling in the past. Put your life in order. Ask God for the direction and the guidance that we need. I mean, if it's costing you your peace, well, then that's way too expensive. Way too. In fact, let me share something I read. I read this on Facebook just this morning, and I thought it fits so well with what we were talking about today. And it says, your enemies will get what's coming to them. Unclench your fist, shut your mouth, and remove anger from your heart. And never forget who you are. But most importantly, never forget whose you are. And know that when someone's messing with you, they're messing with God. So don't waste your time in the past. Don't dwell on anything in the past. You see how it doesn't always come back to give you the satisfaction you thought it was going to give you. So, my closing words for today are, don't let your past dictate your future. Until next week, I'm Lelia Lewis. Thanks for joining me.